Where we talk about synths, setup, songwriting, and nerd out over gear. Thanks for joining in, and make sure to hit that like and subscribe button below. We're here joined with ISØBEL, who's a electropop artist from here in Ottawa. She's been building quite a following, doing a bunch of synth-related TikToks, memes, cover songs.
Oh my God, yeah.
I love them. They're great.
Thank you.
I love the deep voice thing you do when you do your voiceover. I think on the last one where it's like when people are buying all the synths.
Oh, like the. Oh my God, the memes, the TikToks, yeah.
Yeah, I love
That's
that.
like out of necessity to keep up with the youth these days.
Yeah, that's why you can see my social media followers, because it's just like, here's a picture of this new synth I bought that no one cares about. I'm not a content creator but I'm loving the stuff you're putting out.
Thanks. I try.
So what was your start in getting into synth music?
So, synth music or music in general.
Yeah. Where did you start, and when did you transition to doing, synthesizer-based electronic music?
Yeah. Well, I always think it's funny to mention because like the first instrument I ever learned or was forced to learn was the tuba when I was in grade school. Nice. Oh, saxophone kids were cool though. Tuba was not cool. But so that was kind of where I learned like most of my musical knowledge back then, and it never grew from that point. But that's kind of just when I learned how to read music and training your ear and stuff. So it was a great experience. And then after that, I tried to teach myself guitar, took guitar lessons, quit, and then I think when I started getting more into electronic music was probably like the mid 2000s, when like everything was like electro indie pop, and like early EDM music was kind of coming out, like Mastercraft and like Justice, whatever.
Call it the metric phase, right?
My whole life
brought it in, that electro pop.
Oh, metric has been a phase my whole life. Everyone knows that. Today I was like, I should get a metric tattoo. That should be.
Old World Underground is still a constant spin.
Yeah. They're first. That's true. No, there's a lot of bands like that. I think that now when I look back, I realize that they had tons of synth in it. And it's only now that I realize, oh, that's the elements that I like. So like bands like Metric, even Death from Above 1979, that was definitely a band I listened to a lot when I was getting into more electronic music, which they're just like bass and drums, but they would bring synth in as well sometimes. So anyways, when I actually got started though was only, what year are we? 2022. So in early 2020 or so, I'd actually met a coworker at one of my jobs he's a synth player in a local band called The Pale Light. I think, I found out he played synth and I just like latched on to that. And he was so great because he would literally bring his synths to work, like to the government building. Like he brought like an Access Virus, his like Nord lead, like huge, and put them in his office and would like let me look at them. he brought so many things. Like the uh what's the Russian guy who makes his own synths? Um, he has like, anyways, it'll come back to me later. Yeah, so that was like a great experience to have a mentor pretty much, because he introduced me to like all the basics of music recording, music production, and a lot of synths, drum machines, and pretty much sent me on my way. And yeah, the first thing I bought was a MIDI keyboard, my Arturia keyboard.
Yep.
And like we were talking about before, like I was trying to find, this started with Reaper, and just trying to figure out how to record stuff. And
Oh, hold on.
from then on, like early 2020, that's when I think we had both signed up for that show, actually Not Normal.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that was sort of, I think, the first casualty of the COVID cancellation
Yep.
for me anyway.
Yep.
And then it was a pretty big snowball from there.
Yep. But that was pretty much, yeah, like I had no knowledge. I have no like piano knowledge or musical knowledge, but I signed up to do that show. Jason probably didn't know that I had no music written.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's great.
But I
I
had
was
like,
the same way.
I was like, I have 3 months. If I can't do it, I will never do it. So that's what like made me just start recording stuff. And here we are.
No,
The pressure decreased, like not having live shows.
I mean, you managed to squeeze one in between lockdowns, just like I did. You played
Right.
on the other week.
Yeah, I know. We were some of the last ones to play.
Yeah.
How was it? That been your first one in a while? I remember you just saying like, or was that like one of your first ones like as a synth project? No.
No, I got a few in before
Yeah.
lockdown started. Because I kind of did a similar thing where my band broke up and I sold a bunch of guitars and amps, bought a drum machine and a Korg monologue, and then just started making, punk rock songs. And I was just like, all right, I got 5 songs, start booking gigs. And
Nice.
so I played a bunch, but yeah, once the lockdown started, everything kind of like shifted from more of a tailoring stuff to a live setting to really building the stupid thing I have behind me with all the synths and the studio. So
how did that show go for you?
It was good. It was a bit sketchy. Had a couple cable failures.
Sorry, it's just lagging a bit right now.
Give it a second.
Oh, right. You mentioned.
Yeah.
Like while you were playing?
Yeah. Well, it was in between songs. It was, well, I mean, because I was trying to switch everything. I didn't want to bring all the synths that I needed to play, the 5 songs that I wanted. So I was working on a, bit of a shortcut. So I took all my samples and I loaded them in. I bought a Digitact and a Digatone.
Did you?
Yeah, so I was kind of using that as a live rig. So I was just resampling everything into there.
Yeah.
And build everything that I normally do on the TRA.
Oh my God, we did the exact same thing.
That's what I wanted to talk about.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot trying to recreate a song that you have that you recorded in here, not wanting to bring your laptop, which you didn't bring one, right?
No, I don't. I go completely.
Exactly. Me too. And so I ended up using my TR-8S to input any samples that I couldn't do live. But it has like such limited internal memory, which I didn't know until like a week before the show. I didn't realize. Oh, so how do you like the Digitact?
The learning curve is steep. I mean, when I bought the TR-8S was the drum machine I bought when I started doing the Young Shadow stuff. And it was between that and the Digitact, and I probably spent 2 hours in Long McQuaid with them side by side. And at the end of the 2 hours, I was like, I kind of know how to work the TR-8S. I have no idea what's going on this Digitact.
Yep.
And it was actually a friend of mine who I play with. So he had one, and I saw it, and I saw him working it. I was like, okay, I kind of started figuring out. And then one came up for super cheap on Kijiji, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna pick one of these up. And it took me 3 months to really figure out how to use it, but then it became essential now. It's such a small box that can do so much once you figure out how to work it. And
Do
when I was
you
converting everything from my studio setup to the live setup, it was kind of an interesting experience because you tweak it a little bit and stuff, kind of like the
yeah.
Digitact can do some things the TR-8S can't, and can't do some
Yeah.
things. So like the songs
Okay.
took a bit of a different live form than they actually did in the studio.
Exactly. That's the whole point. Cool. Can you see me thinking about my next purchase now? 'Cause it
Well,
was like,
what is it? The Digitact?
well, yeah. And that we had the same thing. I was like, okay, either that or the TR-8S. But for, like you said, functionality, the TR-8S, like the Roland drum machines, they just make a lot more sense to my mind.
Oh, to everyone's mind, it is.
Yeah.
It's a
And
whole new ball game with the Electron stuff. But
really, I'm
it's
scared.
really cool once you get into it.
That's I see how people use it, you know, on Instagram or online, and my mind is blown every time. So I'm like, I know I
Yeah.
should
Well,
get into it.
my stupid trick, because I have so much gear, is I actually do everything. I have a Scorp pyramid. I don't know if you've heard of the pyramid.
Ooh,
Um,
that's another one of them.
oh,
Is that you use it for as a sequencer?
I use
Well,
it
it
to
is like
sequence
it
completely
is a
everything you see here is plugged in into the Scorp right now.
okay.
Sequencing everything. So when I was tailoring the set to a live, I already kind of had all the sequences built in the Scorp. I
Yep.
just needed to rewire all the MIDI channels to trigger stuff on the Digitact.
Oh,
So
wait, did you use both of them together?
yeah, so I
No.
just brought the Scorp, and it already had all my song data and all my steps saved into it. So I just needed to switch, MIDI channel 1 from being my DM12 to being this channel on the Digitact, and then triggering that sample. So it was a really cool cheat.
Okay.
I didn't have to reprogram everything. But
So were you like replacing some of the sequence parts with like a sample so that you could like play on that synth
yeah,
instead?
exactly.
Yes.
So I just
Okay.
had my controller, and I was
Oh my God, we've made it so complicated for ourselves.
it's yeah. I talked to some other people that were like, actual synthesizer music people that weren't, like I was coming
Mhm.
from playing in punk and metal bands on guitars, and then just bought all the stuff. So it's you buy one piece of gear, and then you're like, well, I want to be able to play guitar while this is going, but then I want the like verse and chorus to be able to switch in. So what piece of gear do I need to get
Yeah.
do that? And then it just kind of snowballs from there.
Yeah.
And yeah, trying to do
Yeah.
things hands free
Well,
because
I
you play
find
guitar and front and sing and everything. So
exactly
sometimes
same.
it's
Yeah,
better.
we're both playing guitar. And I find something with more like synths and drum machines now is like they're kind of moved away from any kind of song mode for a long time, right? And it's kind of like not frowned upon, but a lot of sequencers now or drum machines, it's like an elements looping and coming in and out. But like older drum machines, I found you could, like you just said, have like different song sections, right?
Yeah.
Like a verse and a chorus, and you could line them up, which I find is like a little bit harder to find right now, which is why I ended up going with the TR-8S.
Yeah, because it has the 8 different, loops that you can trigger. But I mean, there's still not really a song mode on that, right? You kind of have to
On the Digitact or the TR-8S?
TRS. Like you
So
still
I
kind of have to
just,
play it.
well, I don't like, I literally sequence the whole thing. Like they'll take up a whole bank, and I select all the patterns for a song. Like I just, oops, sorry, let it run. Which yeah, is like not super what it's used for. But that's what I ended up doing so that I could use my hands to do like
Yeah,
other.
that's why I bought the pyramid, because the pyramid has like a song mode where you can program it all in and then
Mm,
just hit play. And
okay.
it's a stupid thing, because I'm like, I'm not bringing a laptop just to hit play, but then it's like I'll bring my pyramid and 4 other synths just to hit play on them. And
Yeah. Yep, I get you 100. There's something that didn't evolve properly in our
yeah.
brains.
Well, even at that show I played at Club Saw, the promoter Sean was even like, so when are you going to just bring a sampler and a computer and switch to doing that? Never. Like, even with the cable
No.
failures, never.
No, I don't know what, but you know what? It's because it's fun for us to do, right? Like,
Yeah.
you can, like, we're doing it to present our music, but yeah, if you want to do it as easy as possible, you could bring, I was going to say, a CD player. but like an MP3 or whatever. But we want to have fun playing live. You want it to be a bit of a challenge. And part of it, when artists go see other synth artists, I think we're very interested in the gear and how they did it,
Yeah.
So
Making music for other musicians.
yep.
Yeah. So what's your favorite piece of gear that you're using right now? What's your go-to in the studio?
Um, I would probably say the TR8S right now. To be honest, like I don't love any of them.
Yeah, nothing's
Like
really.
I don't know. Like I use them. I bought them. They were a good deal. Like my micro Korg, obviously, I've used that actually in almost every song that I recorded. Um,
Yeah.
Often almost all on the same patch that I modified a little bit. It was a really popular synth, like in the mid like 2000s too. So like a lot of bands I listened to used it. So a lot of the presets that are loaded on it are very like familiar to me. So I often like
MS-2000, which is just kind
yeah
of the big brother. It's
this
got the same chip in
yeah
it.
the same engine yeah yeah. Um, so I use that's often like my starting synth, but the TR8S, like we just talked about, really saved my ass for this live show. And through doing that, through preparing for it, you learn what else it can do. Like it has really cool synth sounds on it too, and one hit effects and stuff. Um, the workflow just makes sense for me. I also wanted a drum machine that's already loaded with a lot of samples, because I'm not big into going out and downloading banks. I need like limited choice.
Yeah,
So I wanted something,
maybe don't get the dig attack then, because
because that's what you have. Is that what people do? You have to go download something and load it in each time?
no, it has a bunch in there, but then like I downloaded a bunch of banks with 808s and 909s and everything, and like classic DMX drum machines.
Yeah.
And then I just load that in, and then you can kind of like load samples into the song that you want to build. And so I kind of I'll load 3 bass drums, 3 snares, 3 hi-hats, and it's like, these are what I'm using in this song now. Or else you just have, like you said, unlimited choice, and you spend 6 weeks trying to figure out that
one snare
sound, and then you become the meme that you laugh at.
I know. That's exactly what I'm seeing in my mind right now.
Yeah, well, it's a meme because it's a real thing.
It's we all don't want to admit it, but so I find that has become pretty crucial now, and now that I like learned how to use it a bit better. And also, well, actually the reason that I got it was before, when I was recording my tracks, I would use actually my Korg Volca sample. That was the drums on my first few tracks.
That's awesome. Yeah,
which is
great.
Yeah, it's they're very similar workflow. But of course, you can only record all the drums at once. Like it's ridiculous. So that was what made me choose a TR8S, was being able to send multiple audio tracks over USB.
That's a game changer for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
I have
are
spent
you doing all your mixing yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
probably to the disappointment of like many real producers out there.
I send it off to the guy who's been mixing my metal band and everything, but I'll do a mix and get it like pretty straight to where I want it, and then I give it. He just laughs at me, and he's just like, "Huh, what are you doing here?"
Oh,
he knows what I want, and he knows a better way to get there than what I'm sending him. So I give him a rough draft, and then he because I'm guessing as I'm going.
Me
like,
too.
Yeah.
Do you find he improves it?
Oh, absolutely. Because I don't know if you get this, but like being a solo artist and doing it all yourself, not having input from anyone else is like kind of a double-edged sword. It's great because you get complete control, but then you're like, is this weird thing I'm doing really good, or do I just like it because I thought of it? And so sometimes I send him to him and he's just like, what is this? And other times he's like, oh, that like weird part is awesome. And it's like, okay, yeah, I'm on the right track. And it's nice to have, input that's not directly invested in the
Yeah.
project, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know. And like if I give it to someone to listen to and then they um they make the smallest criticism. And I'm like, well, it's supposed to sound like that. It's supposed to sound like
You just
noisy.
didn't
Like
fit
you
it
don't
in.
get it.
Yeah, I'm
So
the same way because I put weird stuff in my songs that I'm just like taking from other people's like, oh, I see what
really?
like well, I mean, when you pick up my favorite example of it is in Rumors, on Fleetwood Mac Dreams. There's
Yeah.
one part in the middle where the bass player does like a little walk up and it only happens for like 2 seconds at one point in the song, and it's my favorite thing ever. So I like doing one little change up and throwing it in and
That's
making it really
cool.
overt. So it's like when you pick up on cool stuff like that in
Ah.
other people's songs, I'm like, oh, I see what they're doing, and I'm going to steal that and put this
Ah.
one little drum sound that's only going to happen for 2 seconds in the second verse. And
That's such a good idea, though. Yeah, when you're just like, I love this one little element. I want it so much that I'm just gonna take it.
yeah,
And
and I mean, yeah, half of it's me trying to be like, okay, I can't sound too much like a Nine Inch Nails song here because that's like half the time I'm like, listen to the production. It's like it's so good. It's like, oh, I'm gonna do this big wall of fun. No, everyone's gonna know.
I was listening to your EP the other day. Nine Inch Nails did come to mind.
Yeah, no,
It was so good.
thank you. Yeah,
I wanted to ask you actually what you use to get like a lot of the noisier, like staticky, like I forget which track it is, if it's maybe the second one that's very like hammering,
yeah.
kind of. Is it?
That is all on the TR8S. Um, they've got a bunch in the effects section. They've got a
Yep.
bunch of like weird
Yep.
industrial noises. So I just took those and like bit crushed the fuck out of them. Uh, and
Oh,
then
amazing.
yeah, all those drum sounds were just I pretty much built a like industrial kit on the TR8S
Hmm.
when I wanted those things. I could get to it easily, and then I was just making
Amazing.
hilarious drum beats using like the sheet metal sounds and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
You made those?
no, those are just
Okay, okay, okay.
it's all but like yeah, just
You didn't
making
go
them more
take yeah, a
brutal
piece
and
of
over.
metal and
Yeah, no,
yeah,
I'm not that what's the word?
e-
Not lazy.
experimental. I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, no,
That's trying too hard.
somebody already recorded the jackhammer into the sheet metal. I don't need to do it. I can just take their sample and throw it through my machines.
Mm. Yeah. But that's super good to know. That's exactly what I wanted to explore more. Um, so whenever I go through them, I'm like, wow, these are really good, interesting samples. Um, so the
Yeah,
song that I'm working on now, that's kind of where I'm at, and my goal, or not my goal, but the next thing I want to do is go into the TR8S, start looking into those effects and start adding those in.
yeah. I mean, the TRS is great, especially because I sequenced everything on the pyramid, so I can just kind of cycle through all the drum kits on the TR8S while the pyramid is playing, and it just like, oh, that bass drum sounds cooler, and then I'll just build a kit for that
Yeah.
song out of that, and it's just like a fun thing, and you get to see all the weird sounds and presets they already have loaded in there because a lot of them are pretty
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Well, that's why that's why we chose it, and that's why it costs that much. Because they are really good samples, I find.
Yeah, yeah, they're great, and the effects on them are killer as well. Like I don't run any external effects through the TR8S. Like it's got enough distortion and
Yeah.
bit brushing and everything in there. Um, your song "Time Bomb," though, I've been listening to that all week to sort of prepare for this. So I've got some cool stuff I want to talk about in there. Very
It's
start
probably
of
just
that,
gonna be like a stock garage band
yeah,
sound.
yeah, that's great. Well, I mean, I don't know if it was Garage Band, but I know that Plastic Beach album, the Gorillas Plastic Beach, that
Mm-hmm.
was all done on an iPad with GarageBand, I believe. Well, Damon Albarn
Wow.
was like on a train, riding train through Europe, and that album was phenomenal. So it's
Mhm.
don't knock GarageBand and iPad
Oh
producers
no.
because yeah, that changed my opinion on it completely. Where it's like, oh, this album was phenomenal, and he was reclining on a train seat doing it in GarageBand and iPad, and
Yeah. Oh no, I'm very much of the opinion when it comes to buying gear or your DAW or anything. I'm the type who like start smaller. Um, Rather like some people they would rather like do a lot of research and invest in like a piece of gear like that is more has more features or whatever right off the bat. But for me, it's the other way, and I think you know you, because the fact is you can do a lot with like you said using Reaper. I started with my little digital recorder that had 4 tracks like when I started doing covers. So but anyways, yeah, so Time Bomb.
Um, right at the start of there's like a little swelling sample. It's like a reverse symbol or something. What's going on? Like the very first sound
Mm.
that you hear, it's this
Oh,
really interesting swell.
yes. So, and also kind of like what you just mentioned, so that's definitely just like a sample that I downloaded somewhere. I think it was static, like radio static. And maybe there was like some crowd talking voices. But that's what it was. And actually it was what I had in mind is the beginning of a Metric song. I don't remember which one it is. Is it Monster Hospital? It kind of has that sort of
Yeah, it's a real
vibe to
like
it.
I'm a noise guy, and like as soon
And
as
yeah,
that song started playing, I was like, oh, that's a really cool sound. I really like that. So right away that brought me in. And you got
static.
like this I don't know, there's like a DJ scratch or something that's hitting as well over top. It's not a DJ scratch, but you gotta have a weird sound that's
Is it that's going on throughout it, like in the drums?
yeah, it's kind of like it's only
Oh,
hitting on like,
yeah, yeah. I
but
can
to me it
that
sounds like a 90s DJ scratch almost.
that sound is so weird. I thought it sounded like a dog bark. The one that goes like
Yeah, yeah. I got
yep.
a chicka chicka vibe from it.
Yeah, okay, interesting. So that is actually the sound. So I chose that song because I actually had so much difficulty finishing it.
One
And
of those.
yeah, it had started as actually the first little melody that I ever wrote and that I posted to Instagram. It was like my very first original song like 2 years ago. And then I was trying to pick it back up a
Mhm.
year later and finish it. And I couldn't. So what I ended up doing was I took it, and one of the things was I went back to the my Volca sample, which is where the drums were from that original song, and I just kind of started looking through the samples, and that was one that's in there that to me I thought it was like a dog barking, and it like pitched it up. Yeah, I don't know, I still don't know it, but I thought it sounded cool, so I added in there,
It's
and it
yeah,
sort
I
of
love it. It gives it like a 90s vibe because to me it was just like, yeah, it's kind of that like House of
it
Pain rap scratch that's happening in the back and like Limp Bizkit songs and stuff was what
really.
yeah, that's what I was picturing.
That's so
Um
funny. I didn't know what it was. And but I thought like when I added it, it changed the energy of the song a
yeah,
lot. I found it kind of made it a little bit more, sort of like you're saying, like more upbeat, more energetic.
there's a bit more it makes it a bit less straight of a beat, right? It kind of adds a little off
Yeah,
kilter time into it, which is really nice. Because I mean that whole song is driven by this like great dirty bass sound that you have.
yeah. Can you guess what that's from?
Microkorg,
No,
or is that the Novation?
it's from the bass station.
Yeah, the base station. Yeah.
So, um, yeah, that was the other thing. Like when I had started the song, it was from the microKORG, and then yeah, when I was having this difficulty, like I kind of wanted to record it properly. And so I went back and I decided, okay, I'm going to do it on a different synth. And I started changing up the original pattern I had and just going through the presets. And I found this super noisy, gritty one on the bass station that I really liked and was really hard to mix. Like, because I'm like, it sounds almost objectively like not nice to the ears. It's very noisy, and even playing it live too. I was like, sorry, audience, like
That's
that's
where
what
you
it's
and
gonna
I
sound like.
differ when you're trying to go for that
Um,
electro
but
pop and
yeah,
have
so
that punk thing going. It's like I'm all about the this is going to be uncomfortable for everyone. Oh,
Yeah, no, but actually, like I love that, and that's also what I really like about your recent EP, like those gritty, noisy sounds. I love.
yeah, it's the next one. I'm doing 3 EPs this year, and the next one is
Okay,
like a lot more groove bass and less harsh. These were the harshest set of the songs that I've ever done, and
I
I
loved
really
it.
pushed a lot of the gain staging and everything to the max.
Super into it. I was at my desk at work, headbanging. So
um,
what synths did you use for that one, or was it all
um, the first
sample?
track, actually, the first and the third tracks were all on the Digitact and Digatone. Um, those are sort of ones that yeah, was really figuring out the Digitact when I
Okay.
was writing those tracks. Um, the second one, the one that you were talking about with all the industrial sounds, that's my main studio setup. So I'll do all the drums on the TR-8S. Uh, the bass line is usually on a Korg monologue, which I've had
Okay.
forever because it's just got a
Okay.
bunch of great dirty bass sounds on it. Um, I usually layer those bass sounds with the MS-2000 because those
Okay.
also just have the bass presets on that are so good, so much better than anything I'm going to be able to program.
Yeah.
Um, but the real dirt in that song comes from the Roland Gaia. Uh,
Oh,
that
I
thing.
want to ask you about that. So I'm like looking for a pen to write notes. It's fine. I'll try to remember. I wasn't ready. Oh, good for you. I'll listen back after.
Yeah, don't worry, it's
Okay.
recorded.
The Roland Gaia, that was almost the first one I bought. How do you like it?
It's pretty great. I got a crazy good price on it on Kijiji, and it was one of those
Yeah.
things where like I had a bit of extra cash, and somebody was selling it for like $300, and I was like, like
Yeah.
no brainer. Um, it's super fun. Like I just use the presets on it.
Yeah.
It's got the sandstorm sound. It's got the sandstorm arc on it. So
Amazing.
if that
Major selling point.
once I found that, it was probably 2 hours of trying to build sandstorm on the TRS.
That's so good. I need to do that cover.
Yeah, well, I just tried the Blue Monday one the other day, and that was an
Mm.
adventure. Um, I usually
Yeah,
don't
that was
try to
great.
like sequence things exactly, but that was an experiment. After we got snowed in, I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna spend the afternoon in my room here and it's like listening to that intro a billion times.
Mm-hmm.
Those fills are like weirdly off time, and there's a bunch of weird stuff
Right?
happening. But that was a whole eye-opening experience to be like,
Yeah.
oh, I see
Isn't
how
it?
they're sequencing everything. It's great. Yeah, just the way I
Isn't
don't
it?
do it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I find it's funny when I'm doing covers, and I don't know if you kind of noticed this when you were doing your Blue Monday, but um sometimes you think you know a song by heart, and then you're listening to it and you're like, what? Like that's what the rhythm is, or that's what the pattern is, or there's like something else going on in the background that you never realized.
Yeah, with
Um,
that one, it was all the changes. It's just like you think, sort of, it's like, okay, there's this iconic bass line, but it's like that bass line
yeah,
morphs and changes 5 or 6 times over the course of
yeah.
that song. And I was like, when you're thinking the Blue Monday bass line in your head, it's dun, 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 it's like, but it's like it changes so many times, and I was like,
Yeah.
I just wasn't
And the
really
drums too, it's like
oh, the
and they
drums are
just
so
keep.
fun on that, yeah. Uh, but yeah, that's a fun experience. Back to Time Bomb though. What did you do? Because I know you're like me, you don't know how to play the piano like a piano player.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I bought synths and was like, okay, that's where C is.
Me too. I can tell
Yeah,
you where C is.
and I still
I'm
go
pretty
C
sure
D.
it's
Yeah,
this
yeah,
one.
yeah. So you use these piano chords. Are you using anything to trigger those, or are you just like figuring out? Like, are you
Mm,
playing the piano, or are you?
mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, for the few piano chords, yeah, I just use a stock piano plugin in GarageBand, and I use my MIDI controller. And I just played around with something until it sounded right, and I just record it.
I'm always
Like,
too afraid to put clean piano parts in my songs because I'm going to be like, oh, I'm like, when it
but
was in this song, it was just like, oh, is she like is that a sample from a chord being played, or does she actually know how to play piano? Because I can never get lush sounding chords like that when I try like clean piano
Ooh.
noises. So I was, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had the lyrics or the vocals already, and then I don't know what key I'm singing in or playing in ever,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I think this sounds right. But I almost like, um, I feel maybe adding that lush piano on top of some of your music would be interesting. I don't know if you've done it already.
On the next EP, there's one song where I've got
Yeah.
like my main synth I use for most of my sounds is the DeepMind 12 from Behringer.
Ooh.
That's been the one I've had forever, and it's got
Yeah.
a billion sounds and options. So I've got a really nice piano sound on there, and there's a layer
Okay.
of piano in there, but it's still, even
Yeah.
when I'm mixing it, I'm just like, sounds really amateurish. Like my piano
um,
skills are pretty subpar when it comes to clean playing.
it can be so simple, I think. I think
Yeah.
it'll sound good. Um, what was I gonna say? But you're trying to like create your own no,
No, no,
you're saying
no.
like it's got no.
It just sounds like you knew how to play the piano. Where I can never get that in my mix, where it's like, this sounds like a dude who has a piano and is hitting it.
No, it was just a good sample, and I mean it was MIDI, right? So I changed, I made it
Yeah.
perfect or made it close enough. Piano was actually, I did take lessons when I was like a child. Uh, this is where my anxiety started. I am certain of it. I hate I hated it so much. Um,
But yeah,
but
it's
no,
like,
so,
yeah, doing the tuba thing. It's same as me. It's like none of that. Like I played saxophone all throughout high school and marching band and jazz band, and none of that information really switched over when I started, writing my own music and playing in bands.
but it must have, like, even if it was just ear training and
Yeah, but I mean, in terms
rhythm.
of like reading music
Oh
or
yeah, no.
knowing how to structure things or what key I'm playing in, it's like none of that carries over. It's just based entirely on my love of music and being like, I know what sounds good because my own
Yeah,
taste in music. But
yeah. Do you have musician friends who are the opposite, who are classically trained and are like, I'm gonna write a song in this key, or like whole orchestras even?
well, I mean, good
I
friends of mine
haven't.
are the dudes in the Night Watch who are like an
Funny.
instrumental prog metal band.
Okay.
And so they've got like, guitar and violin and drums, and it's like these giant movie soundscapes, and everything's like, I'm good friends with them, so I've been there when they're playing. It's like everything's orchestrated into like movements, everyone knows where the
Wow.
accents are, and I'm just like, I press buttons and make sounds on boxes.
That's the beauty of music,
Yeah, exactly.
because as simple as it is, it means something to someone.
Exactly, yeah.
And do you know the band Low?
Oh, of course, yeah, that
Yeah.
new
Okay.
album
Yeah.
melted my brain.
I don't know if when was that one released?
Just last year.
Okay, I was just thinking of the one maybe prior to that, like maybe 2019 or something. That
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called.
I don't know.
Say What or something is the
I don't
last
know.
one, but it's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. I should listen to their latest one. But yeah, so Time Bomb, that was actually something that was different for me when I was coming up with it, or sort of trying to get the song to evolve and have some forward momentum, was adding in those different orchestral instruments like
Yeah, well, you've
the
got a really nice
piano.
string sound in the outro
Yeah.
too that I really liked, and you've got this. I mean, you've got the piano and the strings, but then in the, I guess, the second like pre-chorus part, you've got this huge dubstep build-up that happens.
Oh yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
make that.
oh, I loved it. It came in. It's just like this
No.
lush part that comes in, and the drums come back in, and then and it's just like you're
Yeah,
waiting
that
for this big drop to happen. It's like, what is happening right now?
I know the song's all over the place. I think
I love that stuff. I love that.
yeah, that was just a riser again from GarageBand. I would like to learn how to make some of my own risers like that. Like
Yeah.
I know a few more tips and tricks now, like reversing a cymbal or like a breath or whatever. Um but I'd like to make some of my own, like on some of my synths. So,
Yeah.
because when it's like really long like that, like over, like multiple bars, and you're trying to like make the pitch go higher and higher, and I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, and it's like
I'm just
it's the energy of that like part, coming from metal and hardcore. It's like that's the breakdown. That's the part where everyone's about to lose their shit on this part of the track. And
and then I'm just like guitar.
how did you
Like,
record your guitar for this track too?
Sorry?
How did you record the guitar on this track? Did you just go DI in, or do you mic up an amp?
I don't even know what you just said. I put my 1/4-inch instrument cable from my guitar into my audio interface.
Yeah,
and
so
GarageBand.
Yeah, you just go
GarageBand
direct
has
in.
these great they're like preamps and like amp what are they called? Like virtual amps kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I use. And I feel really fake when I do that. But then people who actually play guitar are like, that sounded great.
Yeah, no, it's a good fuzz sound. Like, yeah, GarageBand's great for stuff like that.
Yeah. I was actually really embarrassed when I was playing my the show at Club Saw, because like I don't have an amp. I don't have pedals, and I brought my guitar, and I brought my digital recorder, my micro BR, which has the digital preamp and amps simulators.
Amazing.
And that's what I used.
That's awesome. That's punk rock.
I mean, it's pretty small, but I'm like, I don't have that. I don't need, because I use it so little in my songs. I don't consider myself a guitar player or an anything player, but I'm like, I'm not going to go spend hundreds of dollars on an amp and pedals when I can press a button and it,
Like, I hate bringing all, like, when I started this, it was just like I bring my drum machine and the monologue, and then I would play guitar over top of it. And now that it's grown so much, I'm like, I'm not even going to put guitar in this song because I don't want to have to bother bringing a guitar if I'm going to play it live. And then it's like a couple of these songs, it's like I stupidly put guitar solos in them, and I'm just like, well, now if I want to play that song live, I'm gonna have to bring all my guitar shit so I can play this 30-second guitar solo in it. It's like,
and did you did it?
No, I just played the guitar solo on the Digatone.
Oh, like you played it, or you just like
I had my no, I actually just wrote out the keyboard riff to it, and I just played it on a synth setting instead of bringing a guitar.
No way. I considered doing that, but I didn't I didn't know if I'd find like a good enough sample or anything. Or like,
what I've realized from my many years of playing music live is these are the details that nobody cares about except for you.
Nobody. You can be music lovers, and I was so worried. I was really so worried that the other bands or the sound tech people were gonna be like, look at this poser, like she doesn't have an amp. There's so much not garbage equipment up there. There's like 5 other people's amps. No one can even tell what's going on.
Exactly.
And the average music lover or listener, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like it does the trick.
Yeah, you got this fuzzed out guitar thing, and you're playing on a fuzzed out synth. It's like nobody's caring about that except for you.
Nobody cares.
I'm gonna sit there and be like, oh, the tone on my synth was off on the cell phone recording somebody took. I gotta tweak that now.
Yo, I feel you. After the Saw show, this was my first show, right? And yeah, listening to like the playback on people's stories killed me. Like that sent me into a depression for a day.
Yeah.
I was like, I am so like my singing. That was like it went well. The show was great experience. But I walked away with some areas for improvement for sure.
And well, that's the other thing about being a solo artist. It's like, a lot of times when I'm playing in bands, you're doing a thing and people are like, yeah, maybe don't hit that vocal note so hard. Maybe turn your guitar down a little bit. But when you're doing here, you're just like, yeah, turn everything up, hit it as hard as you want. There's no one to reel you back in.
Yeah.
So that's where you got to use those Instagram stories to be like, oh, is my voice really that high?
Yeah. Yeah, that was bad. I use I was using my VT4 for like vocal effects, but it has the auto tune on there. Like my song Hurt You,
Mhm.
that I used auto tune like to the max, but on purpose as an effect.
Yeah.
But anyways, for live, I brought it along as kind of like to try to keep my voice in check and apply a bit of auto tune.
Oh yeah.
Um, but when we were all doing the sound check, all the bands were like, "Oh, our auto tune and vocal effects are like not working. Like there was too much reverb in the room."
Okay. Yeah.
And uh,
That room's yeah, when I played there as well, it was like I was getting feedback from all over the place. It was a hard
yeah,
figure
yeah,
out.
it was us um picking everything up too much, and sort of like the auto tune wasn't working. So but just also I'm not a trained singer, and I had no voice control. So I was like, okay, that's an area we can work on.
I understand completely. That's why I have the KP3 here, the old Korg with the touchpad.
What's the KP3?
So it's this little guy.
Yeah.
It's
Okay, I've
just
seen that. Is that the that's not what does that do?
um
You don't have to unplug it.
yeah, it's fine. So it's a sampler and also has a bunch of effects on it.
Oh, it's the chaos pad.
Yeah, the
Oh,
KP3
okay.
is what it's called.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the vocal savior because you can just like layer reverbs and delays out of everything and then just tap tempo it to the song and be like, now no one can notice my horrible voice because it's just drenched in a whole bunch of reverb. And
Yeah.
that's my saving grace because
Yeah.
I can't listen to my voice unless it's running through 15
I
layers of reverb.
and I've heard other musicians say that, but when you record it, it sounds good to your ears, and it's going to sound like I liked your vocals on your last EP. Some of it too is kind of sound like Marilyn Manson vibey. I liked it a lot. I
I'll
never
give
know if
credit
like
to
comparing. Hmm?
yeah, I'll give credit on all that to Topon, the guy who
Okay.
mixes my stuff for me, because I cannot mix my own vocals at all. And so I just send them, I'll do 10 vocal takes and I'll do a bunch of ones with different effects on them. And I just send everything over to him and say, like, you know what
Okay.
I'm trying to do. And he has the fun of chopping them all up and layering them in and out of each other to make it sound cool. Because I was really
Oh
happy with
wow.
the way the vocals turned out on there, but that's not me. That's me doing a bunch of insecure vocal takes and then being like, yeah, I did 10. That's all he's getting. Do something with it, please. And then he always sends it back and it's great.
You give him a lot of effects to like takes, and will he just take um your vocals with no effects and kind of rebuild it how you wanted?
He does that a lot because I'll do usually a couple of vocal takes where I'll run it through the KP3 so he doesn't have a clean option of it.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll split it, the signal, so he'll get
Yeah.
a clean take and the distorted one. And he's like, oh, I can build this distorted thing
Yeah.
better than you did with his
Yeah.
knowledge. So,
Ugh,
yeah.
that's very I've only sent my stuff a couple times to people who wanted to like remix it or offered to like work on it. And I I didn't take it well. But I was also like, if you're on a time crunch and you're like, oh, I don't have time to like go back and forth with the person. But that's something I gotta work on, is like listen to other people's feedback, or like, let them, like, people that I know are literally better at, like, objectively better at music than I am. Like I should let them try to make this sound better.
Yeah. And I mean, take it or don't. I don't take every opinion he gives me on it. Sometimes I'm like, no, like in the first track on there, the Nine Inch Nails one, that Nine Lives song, I purposely made the bass line a bit wonky. It goes in and out of being on time, and it kind
Mm,
of feels like your bass player's a bit drunk,
yeah,
which is exactly what I took
I
because
noticed that.
he was trying to align it,
I
and I was
noticed
like,
that part.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I was like, that was very intentional. It's like I wanted the bass to not sound like the machine was playing it spot on. So
yeah,
when I sent it to him, he was like, first mix back. He was like, "Here it is, time aligned," and I was like, "No, no, no, no.
Yeah.
Let's put this back to its drunken state and stuff like
Yeah.
that." That was like, what I was talking about the Fleetwood Mac thing before. It was like, I think it was a Led Zeppelin song or something where it was just like the bass is just kind of lagging a little bit behind and then kind of
Yeah.
speeds up for a bit. And I was like, I'm gonna try to do that on
Yeah.
my synth for it. And yeah,
You know what? It worked because that makes a song memorable, right? Sometimes your favorite songs, it's like they play a note at just like a time that you slightly didn't expect. And that track of yours, noticed that part. And but then at some points of the song, like the bass part was still going on, but there was other elements and it kind of like fit in more.
Yeah, that's
And I
exactly
was like, okay, I think he's doing this like on purpose.
yeah, it's you make somebody feel uneasy, and then when it all kind of resolves itself, it's like a satisfying feeling for just a minute.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the
Well,
vibe I was going for on
well
that.
executed.
Thank you. Um, so when you're doing, you said Time Bomb, that was like an old song that you had written and then you started rebuilding piece together. I know that all too well. Is that the way most of your songs go? You do them
No.
in pieces, or do you normally just like, I've got an idea for a song and you hammer it out?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I hammer it out, like gently pat it out for for 8 months and then
Yeah, yeah.
but
That's what I mean.
yeah, and forget about it. Yeah, no, that one was different because it was so much more difficult and challenging for me to finish. My other songs, normally I love it. I love this process where a melody will come to me, randomly in my head, either a vocal melody or like this main synth melody. Um, Usually, if I'm walking around or like taking a bath or whatever, and I just hum it into my phone. And whenever those happen, I record them.
Good
And
start.
that's you gotta,
Yeah,
you
I'm so
gotta.
bad at that.
This is the number one. If you come up with something cool, it will be gone from your mind in like 3 minutes.
I've been doing this for 20 years and I'm
Yeah.
still like, oh, that's cool. I'll remember that when I get home.
No, no.
0 times that's happened.
I'll leave like the workplace or like I'm somewhere public and I'll go record like my song Infinity Pools.
Yep.
I was at the pool. I was at a spa at Le Nordique and I heard these people beside me, and I was like, wow, these people are really like bad people. And I was being very judgmental of them. Well, they were just being like awful, like talking badly about everyone around them and all their friends and everything.
Yep.
So I went away and I went in the bushes and I recorded on my phone this little idea. Anyways, but so yeah, like most of my songs, I have an idea, um, and I hum it down, and then when I get back to my studio, I'll just start like dropping it in. Like I'll usually create a pretty like basic drum pattern and, take a really quick take of if it was a vocal melody or like whatever on a synth. Um, and for vocals, I usually have like themes that I know I want to talk about. Um, But what I love doing too is just blurting, like playing back what you've got already, blurting out whatever, and seeing what comes out. So I find a lot like my other tracks have been a little bit more organic. Um, and this one was a little bit more challenging, but then it ended up being one of my like more complex songs for me. Like
Yeah.
it just has a lot more elements. And yeah, and the lyrics in that song were really important to me too. So like that took a lot of time.
The lyrics are great. And there's one part in it. It's like, I can't remember what the lyrics are now, but it's something about
Okay.
you were saying about praise was the end of it. You were looking for like a stranger's
Yes.
praise. That
Yeah.
part right there, that's my favorite little line in the song. Right beforehand, like
Thanks.
that whole thing is, yeah,
Yeah.
that was a great little line.
Yeah, especially in our world of like social media and stuff. But
Yeah, picked up on that right away.
yeah. um no, the so the and I guess the lyrics for this one. So this song, what it was about for me, I won't try to get too preachy or anything. Um, but when I started or when I wanted to start writing music, um, I was super scared about getting older as a woman. I quite literally thought like you need to put out your music now before you get older and become like more unattractive because nobody will care. And that's a crazy thought to have. But I literally was like, people don't want to hear music from anyone who's like over 20 years old or something.
I man, when my last band broke up, I was almost just like, I'm 29 playing in a defunct metal band. Like, what am I like? Am I going to be 40 writing death metal songs still? And it's like, well, the answer turns out
Yeah.
yes. But like,
Yeah.
I had that same like, am I done? Is this dream over? And that's when I was just like, I'm not even going to start another band. I'm just going
Yeah.
to permit myself and do it all on synths. And it was a great push forward. But it's like I have the exact same thing as you,
Yes.
where it's just like, yeah,
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm glad to kind of not glad, but it's nice to know like other people are going through
you
that.
are
So
not alone.
no, I know. I think, but for me, it was really when that was my thinking when before I had any music written. And that's why the song is called Time Bomb, because I really thought I was in a race against time. And like every day I was like, oh my God, like you need to, again, I don't want to sound too like annoying, but I was like, you need to like lose weight and like get perfect skin or whatever before you can start writing music, like crazy people thoughts. But getting like writing this song, I worked through those thoughts, and it's crazy. You come out of it on the other end, and I'm like, that's not an issue. I don't think about it. And it's like look at the musicians you like or the artists you listen to. Do I care at all what anybody else is like
Yeah.
stage of life or their appearance or their age? Like that's not even something you think about for a moment. So anyways, that's why the lyrics were something that I spent a long time on. um and um I also find looking back on it now, it's sort of like as the song progresses, it's like I'm more desperately trying to get my point across. And that's why when there's like that little drum breakdown, I'm sort of, to me, I'm like yelling in like really
The
blatant
urgency, yeah,
terms.
you
Yeah,
can feel
exactly.
it.
The
Yeah.
urgency. And then the last line that I repeat a few times is kind of just like my desperate attempt to like get my message across, um, which is take out the hooks, you won't get back the years they took, which can, I think can apply to anybody who has any like behaviors or thoughts that aren't self-serving.
Mhm.
But that's what it was for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's great. And like, yeah, the lyrics on that song were definitely a standout thing. So like, mission accomplished on that one. But so that's the way you do it. You kind of have a melody, and then you'll do the drums after the melody. Or at least that's the way it happened on this song. You hummed out a little melody, then came and put it onto a synth, figured out a drum beat. Where did like the bass line? Was
That was
that the melody that you kind of hummed, or was the bass line
so
kind of
the sort of humming and coming up with an idea like in my mind, that has happened for almost everything else I do. But this one song, because it was based off the first song that I ever wrote,
okay?
I just put myself in front of my keyboard and, was trying to find a patch I liked and
Mhm.
trying to write a pattern. I don't think that comes, it doesn't feel as like natural or organic to me. It kind of feels like a chore when I have to do that. But
Okay.
that's what happened for this song. So I had done that with my microKORG and then like made a really simple beat. A year later, took the same pattern, went to my other synth, the base station, and was like, I'm tired of this. I changed the preset, did the same pattern, but I was just kind of changing up. And it's literally just a few notes and then the same notes in the next octave up, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So
those
that's
are the
because I
best
had,
bass lines.
yeah, but I had just started writing music. So I'm like, that sounds good because it just sounds good easily. So that's what I
Yeah.
did.
I mean, the whole thing,
Um,
that bass line drives that entire song and gives it like that forward, that urgency. It's
yeah,
like
it's like a
the entire
train
verse.
chugging
It's
along.
yeah, it's great.
Um, So no, so that one was different in that I like had to sit in front of my instruments and try to find something and then go back again and try to switch them up. And when I found that gritty synth on the bass station and then added that weird dog bark DJ sound, then I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Played it, and then the first thing that I blurted out was a ticking time bomb. And I was like, okay, that set the mood for the song. And I thought I'm going to write the song that I've wanted to write for a long time, which was about like being a woman and starting to make
Yes.
music and insecurities about that. So I love lyric writing. I love that part because it's like a whole process, like knowing fitting the song to the lyrics to the subject, um and they can happen at different momentums.
Yes. No, lyric writing is always the thing that takes me the longest in all of my songs. I will churn. I have 40 songs that are pretty much done on my sequencer that I just, yeah, you know, I have one line to it and it's just like
Yep.
building off that takes me
Yeah.
forever. Except
Yeah,
for
I feel
sometimes where I'll sit down and write a song, a 5 minute song, and it'll take me 6 minutes to write it, and I'll be like, completely done. But
yeah.
most of the time, it's just lyrics are where it gets
Yeah.
hung up, and they sit in limbo forever until something happens.
Yeah. Finding that second verse or the second, you know,
It's the last
you can
verse for me. Last verse. I can get
uh,
two verses and a chorus, no problem. I can get
uh,
a bridge going, closing out a song and figuring out a satisfying way that I'm sort of trying to end what I'm saying.
yeah.
That takes me years.
Wow. That's when I'm at that point when you've kind of like pinpointed um you're a blockage when you're trying to write a song. That's where I'm like, I'll go on YouTube or not YouTube, or like I'll Google be like how to come up with a counter melody and like go look at like
Mhm.
ask people their tricks or whatever. And because you at that point you might as well try
Yeah.
something else.
I
Like
get
I'll
into a rut of like listening to records and trying to like pick up what they're doing. But
yeah.
then like I use that quite a bit, just kind of pick up little things in behind. But then I always in the back of my mind, I'm like, is this too on point and obvious that I'm doing this? Like, not that, I'm like plagiarizing anything, but it's
Oh
like, are
no.
people even going to get this homage, or are they going to get it and be like, that's obviously a Nine Inch Nails thing he's doing, or that's like obviously a New Order thing. And when I'm
But
listening to music, I love when bands do stuff like that. And I was like, I'm probably one of 20 people that are picking up on this
oh my
little thing they
god.
put in. Then I
Well,
feel good about myself that I'm like, I know. These
you'll
facts
know
more.
who your truest fans are if you
Well,
drop those little eggs in there, Easter
well, it's
eggs.
funny because even in my little Young Shadow name, it's like, I thought it was really clever, but 90% of the people I tell it to don't understand what I'm saying. And
Uh-oh.
one of the guys who I play with Jason and Lloyd was like, I got a degree in psychology and I majored in like Jungian psychology. So he's like, that's really clever. And I was like, you're the audience. You understand my stupid joke.
Okay, so it's young, but
Well,
then
it's
what? Okay.
there's a psychologist,
Yes.
Carl Jung,
Yes.
and yeah, he
I'm
has
aware of that.
yeah, yeah. So he had a theory with like yourself and your shadow, where
Okay.
yourself projected all the positive qualities that you
Ooh,
wanted to present the world,
that's
and
very
your shadow
cerebral of you.
your shadow was all the hidden qualities that you have, but you try to, so all your anger and your jealousy and stuff like that. So when I started this project, I was trying
Oh.
I'm going to lean into really the angry side of everything in this one little
Oh.
project. And then also I kind of wanted it to sound like a SoundCloud rapper because everyone's young,
Yeah.
Jeezy, or little. So I
Little
kind of
young
wanted to like,
little young shadow.
well, I put up on SoundCloud when I was first doing stuff, and I was like, I just want to get added to some trap playlists on SoundCloud because people are going to be like, oh, Young Shadow, this must be and then they're going to hear this Godflesh
Yeah.
industrial.
From
So that,
dust streets of Ottawa.
yeah, the hard streets.
Oh man.
All right, cool. Well, we should probably wrap this up. We've been talking for quite some time now, but thank you very much. Before we go, what you have going on? What's next? What's coming out for you?
Yeah, so I'm working on a new track right now. That to me, it's a bit spicier. It has a bit of a summer vibe. It's another electropop track. But again, I guess the thought for it, like I had that last spring and over the summer, so I'm only getting to recording it now. Um, and then I don't even think they ended up announcing it, but Oh Mike was going to have like a live performance in February. I think now they're just going to record it.
Okay.
I think they're going to air it on Rogers TV, so it's part of their Encore Ottawa series. So I'm doing that in a few weeks. Again, I don't think they've announced it, so I'm announcing it myself now.
This isn't going to air for, a little bit. So I have to figure out how to edit all this
Yeah, anyways. But so yeah, I'm gonna prepare again for that. Kind of rehearse for a live show again.
Awesome.
Yeah. What about you? You're working on your next EP, right?
Yeah, I just got to kind of finish last bit of vocals for it because I'm having a
Wow.
really hard time with again, I've got one song that just I need that last verse to, and then I'm pretty much done. And then I can
Wow, good for
finish
you.
off EP number 3 for the year. And then if I can get all 6 of these remaining songs done, then I kind of have my content for the year. Because
Oh, that's
you're doing the
amazing.
single thing. I'm doing 3 song EPs instead of albums now. I just can't do the
That's
out like 12 songs dropping at once. It
this
splitting
was
up like
just
this
because it
is
wasn't planned. I
it's a better way to do it. It took me years for
No,
it. Yeah, doing
really?
singles and small EPs is way better than releasing full albums. I'm having way better time, way less
Okay.
stressful, way
Yeah.
better return on social media. I'm finding already.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's something I'd like to do is actually take my previous tracks. Maybe I should get someone else to clean them up and then take this newest one and release it as my first EP
yeah,
and have it all nicely packaged up. Be like, that's my first work. It'd be nice to get some stuff printed like on vinyl as well, and just kind of have something tangible for people who want it, and just for me to be like, this is a complete done thing.
yeah. I'm kind of taking well, I mean, from Nine Inch Nails, he did a whole series of EPs that were just kind of like it wasn't a cohesive thing, so he split it up. So that was the start of the idea. But one of my favorite albums growing up was a British band called the Subhumans, who were an old punk rock band. And one of my favorite albums is called EPLP. And they did 4 EPs in 1 year. And then at the end of the year, they took those 4 EPs and put it onto a record. And it's like, here is our
Huh,
1981 or whatever on record. So it's like, I really like, now that
that's
we're in the
cool.
digital age, it's like if I do 3 EPs throughout the year, then at the end of the
That's
year,
what
I
you're
can take
doing.
those 3 EPs and do like, here's the 2022 Young Shadow output as a physical release.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's
so
kind of a
cool.
cool way to do it. So I'm really liking that because the pacing just works out way better than trying to get 12 songs done right at one time.
Yeah. Yeah, and well, like you said too, having a little bit of a different style and genre to each section of tracks or each like EP. That's pretty cool. I haven't seen that done too much, so
Well, I mean, I just kind of
yeah.
did that because it's like
Well,
I had all these songs I was piecing together, and it's like it wasn't my first record. It was like this was kind of a cohesive album. It was like I was going through a divorce, I was moving back, home, so it was like this
a lot
was
of
an album. So it's like I did it
yeah.
that way. But this time it's like, these 3 songs are kind of about this. These 3 songs are kind of about this. This song's about werewolves. Like it's like I'm just gonna split them all up.
Werewolves pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's
that's what happens
amazing.
with my lyrics is I watch a movie and I'm like, oh, I watched American Werewolf in London or something, and I'm just like, I'm gonna write a song about werewolves.
That's great. Just do whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever's fun.
No one knows it's about werewolves but me, but like, by the end of it, by the time I rewrite it 400 times, it's, a love story or
Yeah,
something.
they think it's like a really deep delve into like your mind, but just about werewolves.
Well, one of the lyrics I had in a song that never really got finished, kind of got scrapped, but it was originally a song about like vampires, I think. And I had a line in it. I can't remember what the line before and after was, but there was a line in the middle that said, "And I'll spread you like a disease." And then I played that for someone, and I'm like, "That's kind of sexual." And I was like, "I didn't really come across that." And then I was kind of working on it, and then the pandemic hit, and like, "Oh, this is a song about
Yeah.
the pandemic." And I was like, "Oh, this is so far off from what I was like, originally writing." It's like maybe I need to rethink what this is, because like to me it was like
Yeah. You need to put that line out there.
it's
It's
a great
very
line.
of the day.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Well, it was super fun talking with you. And
Perfect. Yeah, yeah, check out Isabel. We'll link to her below, all her socials, and keep an eye out for what she's got going on. Thank you so much for talking to me, and I'll give you a heads up when this all gets edited together.
okay, cool. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, have a good rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Okay, bye.